Hi folks, Jay Nygaard, the Turbine Guy back, and today we're here to talk about the City of Orono's Notice of Motion and Motion to hold Jay and Kendall Nygaard and Go Green Energy LLC in contempt of court. This motion is for case number 27 CV 177166, and it was filed by Jared Shepard, the Orono attorney. So, let's dig into this. First thing I want to show, it's not up here, are the main things that Orono wants. I'll flash that up on the screen right now. They're saying that we should all be in contempt because a footing and one clothesline post and one footing remain on the property. Because poles and foundation for both SWECs remain. Because instead of a flag, there's a windsock flying. Windsock instead of flag. There are numerous metal poles throughout the property which are distinguishable from the seasonable storage of functional dock parts. Okay, so talking about dock part storage. Because there appears to be numerous scrap and wood and lumber near the lakeshore, while defendants, that's me, defendant, and my wife, and Go Green Energy, while defendants refer to this as a firewood storage, it does not appear to be organized firewood storage consistent with normal use. In other words, our firewood pile is not socially acceptable for viewing by the neighbors in the city. So it wasn't pretty enough. And because of a new wind turbine described as yard art. Now the interesting thing is the windsock and the yard art have been there for a long time, well before any judge's order. They weren't ordered to be removed or anything like that. And we had disclosed that they were there. So they were there. They knew about the firewood pile, our dock storage, and one clothesline post. Now, if you'll remember, I did a video which highlighted how we actually complied with the wording of the order, and the order was written by Orono attorney Jared Shepard. So if he's upset that, say, there's only one clothesline post gone, and there's no footings gone for either clothesline post, then that's his fault because he didn't write an order which included both clothesline posts and footings. And we've been through this with the City of Orono before, where they have actually called out turbines, poles, and footings. So, like I said, we followed the wording of the order to get here. But this is what they're worried about. Now, normally I'll start up here, but today I want to start over here at the last part. This is from a Minneapolis Star and Tribune article, March 17th, 2017, so right around when this lawsuit was filed. And it talks about a controversial Minneapolis landlord held in contempt and ordered to jail. But the interesting thing about this article is the lawyer who they interview. And you go right here. Let's see. Okay, it starts out, a contempt order is very rare and even more unusual in housing court, said attorney Lawrence McDonough, who has represented an estimated 9,500 landlords and tenants. So although it's housing court, he's talking about court in general, and he said contempt is really rare. And here's why. Further quote by him, judges and referees are not real fast to jump to contempt. It is a last resort. Okay, it's a last resort, a sort of nuclear option, and it's basically a way to get the attention of someone who has been non-compliant. Now, Mr. Shepard doesn't understand what last resort means or nuclear option, like this guy is saying right here, nuclear option, because Mr. Jared Shepard jumps straight to the nuclear option. And the crazy thing is, like this quote says, for a client or for someone who has been non-compliant, I made a video how we have been compliant and we've done the best to our ability to meet the wording of the order given us, the order written by Jared Shepard himself. So let's get into this motion for contempt. Okay. The motion for contempt is against Jay and Kendall Nygaard and Go Green Energy, as you can see. And see on the thing, and we'll go through that in a minute. The interesting thing is, the judge actually issued an order in which he denied Go Green Energy from the motion for contempt. Why? because you can't put a corporation in jail. So Mr. Shepard, the Orono attorney, filed something that isn't possible to do. Now it's going to be real interesting because we're going to come up with something else about Go Green Energy at the end of this, but let's remember that. Go Green Energy can't even be in the contempt hearing or be in contempt because of that. Okay, what does Orono want? Well, if we look at it, first thing Orono wants is, of course, to find us in contempt. Then they want defendant Jay Nygaard to go to the Hennepin County Adult Correction Facility immediately and indefinitely. Immediately and indefinitely. That goes to the nuclear option. So that is for someone who's been non-compliant. Yet I've done my best to be compliant, and I made a video to show how I was compliant. So I don't get where he gets this immediately thing, because that's not how the contempt works. So Jared Shepard, one more time, is misunderstanding and misusing the contempt process. Okay, and what else? Indefinitely. Well, we're going to see something about that, but one more time, there you go. So this is all Mr. Shepard's idea. Okay, immediately and indefinitely. What else does Jared Shepard want? He wants Kendall Nygaard to have 48 hours to comply, and according to him, the 3 poles and the other footing he's grousing about are frozen into the ground 3 feet deep. And although the city of Orono doesn't do road maintenance or construction or anything like that in the winter because the ground's frozen, he seems to think that when the order was issued after the ground was frozen, okay, if he is correct, which we disagree because we've complied, that we need to remove these footings immediately as opposed to wait till the ground thaws. So, to me, one more time, this sounds like a nuclear option. We got to have everything. So that's what they want. And if she doesn't do that within 48 hours, one more time, my wife is jailed indefinitely. It's a nuclear option too. Everything we've got is pointing to the nuclear option, and it's all coming from Mr. Shepard. Now, the one thing that's notoriously missing from all of this is Go Green Energy. There's not a word about Go Green Energy in what they would like for relief. So why is Go Green Energy in this? First, he filed something against him that he doesn't have standing to file, and then he includes them while he presents nothing or no requirements from Go Green Energy. So there's a big question mark right there. Why the heck is GGE included in this by, one more time, Orono attorney, Mr. Jared Shepard? Okay, well, let's go over to the Minnesota contempt statute. And what I want to do now is compare how the contempt statute is worded and what Mr. Shepard filed and what Mr. Shepard would like. Okay, first and foremost. Now this would be constructive contempt, okay? Because it's not direct contempt for you in the court. This is something they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that we have done our best to not be compliant, that we have thumbed our nose at the court. Which there's no way they can prove that, because I got a video showing we have been compliant and we've done our best. So it's quite interesting that he's going for contempt and he has the burden of proof, and he hasn't really proved anything. What I showed you is a bunch of juxtapositions. Anyways, constructive attempt requires disobedience of any lawful judgment, order, or process. Disobedience. Right there. Okay? Disobedience. There has not been disobedience. So right there, the very first requirement of 588.01, let me write that up there for people. 588.01. Minnesota contempt is 588. So anyways, requires disobedience. Well, they can't prove that. And they should know that by now because of what we've given them. And like the windsock is gone. I just took it down. So if that's purged, that thing's off of there and we can't be held in contempt for it. Now, I do think Mr. Jared Shepard, the Orono attorney, should look at the line right above it where it says, constructive contempt can also be deceit or abuse of process or proceedings of the court by a party to an action or special proceeding. Well, as far as I'm concerned, this whole contempt motion is an abuse of process. It's written up poorly. In my opinion, it's completely incompetent, according to how the law is written. I think Mr. Shepard should look at whether or not he's in constructive contempt. And, I'm going to ask my lawyers to think about that. Now, when we get to 588.02, and they talk about at the end here, when it is a constructive contempt, it must appear that the right or remedy of a party to an action or special proceeding was defeated before contempt can be punished by imprisonment or a fine exceeding $50. Well, I don't know what right or what remedy we have refused or denied them. We certainly haven't injured the city. We've complied with the wording of the order the way Mr. Jared Shepard wrote it. Okay? So we have not denied them a right or remedy. We've given him his remedy by complying with the way the order was written. Now the next one, penalties for contempt of court. Now this is interesting. Mr. Shepard goes, bad, 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 jail, 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 right away, everybody, and indefinitely. Well, if we look at 588.10, penalties for contempt of court, they talk about a fine of not more than $250, but Mr. Shepard hasn't asked for any money, so the fine is off the table. And one would think with contempt of court, you'd fine somebody first before you jump to jail. You try nudging them a little. If that don't work, then you nudge them more. If that don't work, then, you put them in jail. Okay? Okay? Or, let's see, where is it? By imprisonment in the county jail, workhouse, or work farm for not more than 6 months. 6 months. Well, do 6 months and indefinitely jive with definitions? No, they don't. So Mr. Shepard, by using the word indefinitely for both of us, has violated the state statute 588.10. So if a judge ordered us to go indefinitely, the judge would be violating this statute as well. Now, I didn't have it here, and I didn't show you earlier, but they're also asking for attorney's fees. Now, one more time, they have to be injured. They have to have suffered some irreparable injury. If you look at 588.11, let's see. If any actual loss or injury to a party in an action or special proceeding in the person's right therein is caused by contempt. Okay, actual loss or injury. City of Orono has claimed no actual loss and no actual injury now. So if there's no actual loss or no actual injury, then they don't get to be allowed anything. They have to prove actual loss or injury, and they haven't proved it. They haven't even claimed it. So in order to get attorney's fees, that one's out the door. They did not, Mr. Jared Shepard did not plead his contempt charge properly in order to get that. Okay, so what do we have here? Contempt of court filed by Jared Shepard, where the first thing is Go Green Energy can't be held in contempt of court, and the learned lawyer Shepard obviously had no idea. Also, he asked for us to be jailed immediately when we found out from a certain lawyer who's had over 9,500 clients that judges stay away from contempt, and it's a nuclear option, especially jail. So the first thing Mr. Shepard wants is to jump to the nuclear option, pretty much saying that all we've done is thumb our nose and not do a damn thing. And that is far from the truth, which we've proved. So you go through that, and then you get down here for Go Green Energy, and you notice there's nothing. Now we go to the contempt statute. They have to prove disobedience, which he can't do because we've tried, and we got videos showing we tried. Constructive contempt, he's proved no right or remedy, he's been defeated. But not only that, I mean, Mr. Shepard's pretty much in constructive contempt because this is a frivolous motion. At least in my opinion. The penalties, he didn't ask for any fine, so there's no fine. Jumped right to the nuclear option for jail. Failed to ask for attorney's fees by claiming an injury of some sort to the city, which never happened. And like I said, jumped to the nuclear option. So there is a contempt charge against the Nygaards and Go Green Energy. Now, one last aside here. The neighbors themselves filed their own addition to the contempt charge, and they want to add on more stuff, which the judge didn't even order on. So, if this ain't goofy enough, we got a neighbor filing, in my opinion, another frivolous motion, which they have absolutely no standing to file, but they do want to horn in and pile on. So anyways, Monday morning, February 4th, or Monday afternoon, February 4th at 1:30, the Nygaards are going to be in Hennepin County District Court defending themselves against what I just explained to you here. We'll see you next time, folks.